Hear more than 250 features and changes coming to your iPhone with iOS 18. Before I dive into it, be sure you subscribe to the channel so you can keep up to date with all the latest Apple news. Now, let's jump right in. So here we are on my iPhone with iOS 18 installed. The first thing you're probably going to notice, if you didn't notice already, is that icons are no longer placed here. That's because with iOS 18, they can really be placed kind of everywhere. There's still this overarching grid system, but they don't have to be in that cascading flow they did before. Now you can just literally tap and move them around wherever you want to go, including multiple icons, move them around all at once, and you can like match it to your backgrounds. The same thing works like widgets. These can be placed in multiple different places. There's still random things that kind of glitch out, but yeah, for the most part, you can place your icons anywhere, which is very nice. You'll also notice on this widget here, there's a little handle in the corner. This is actually resizable now, so I can drag this and make it a bit larger. We can go up a row. Well, I need to go up 2 rows, really, to make this bigger. Just like that, we have a large App Store widget here. So resize widgets from anywhere just by pulling that little handle can be really handy when designing your home screens. If we go into our actual edit button, you can see we have options for adding widgets, customizing and editing pages. Before you tap this down here to edit pages, now you can also do it from here. When I tap on edit widget, there's just a few things that I want to show you in here that are new. So if we go down to fitness, the first party one that I want to talk about, we have fitness. We have new options here for fitness. Basically, there's a training load widget. This here is new. I assume you have to have an Apple Watch to be able to use that, but training load widget is added. If we keep going down inside of, I think it's health, we have overnight vitals now. This is a new one, so we have weekly and there's cycle tracking, but all of these new health widgets are very handy. If we go back from the health ones, if there are any for home, a couple that I want to point out. So accessories is the same that we had before. Grid forecast I think we had, but now there's electricity usage and electricity rates. These are new, and we'll talk more about the smart home features and the home app in just a little bit. Backing out once more, let's scroll down. We want to talk about Journal next. Journal is the next one. These have new widgets that we can check out here. There are 3 new ones. So you have your basic streaks, new entry, and this larger new entry one. Again, we'll talk about Journal in just a bit. Going back to the beginning, you'll also notice that the icons, these are larger icons than before. So we're going to tap and hold kind of like we would before, and we're going to go on to edit in that top left-hand corner and hit customize. This is a whole new UI that gives you the option between small, regular icons and large icons. If you choose the large icons, it'll also remove the labels. I prefer this look. It's a little more sleek. I don't actually like the larger icons as much. I'd be happy with smaller icons, but no labels, but that's not an option right now. So aside from your light mode options, there's new darker icons that you can choose from. All of Apple's stock ones have like new dark tints to them, so that's nice to see. I think they look very nice. They've come a long way during the beta process. So you can choose light, dark, automatic, or you can do tinted. When you choose tinted, it'll provide a color for you that it thinks may look good, but you can also adjust this yourself to have any tint that you want for these icons. You got to increase the saturation a little bit, but you can change this tint anyway. You can also use this picker to pull one off of the background. So if you want a certain gold color, you can do just that. So if you prefer, I'm going back here to this dark look. I like this with the larger icons. So if we hold on any icon here, well, basically every icon, there's these new options. So these are your widget options. So for photos, there are 3 different widgets that it wants to suggest. Same thing here, mail, there are 2 different widgets that it may suggest. Camera, there are no widgets, so nothing is listed, just your standard shortcuts, as well as your edit and remove app options. If I find the Journal app here, there are new quick actions added to the icon, so I can create a new entry, view suggestions, add photos, or record audio just by long pressing on the home screen icon. You may also notice this option for Require Face ID. With iOS 18, you can lock apps behind facial recognition or a passcode. So if I would turn that on, which works basically for all of these apps, so there's any of these first-party ones, can all be put behind passcode. I know Watch didn't, but all of these other ones can be hidden behind Face ID. And there's also the ability to hide apps. So if I wanted to, I could hide any of these and put them inside of this hidden folder. So that way, if anyone was looking at my phone, I could hide any certain apps I didn't want to be visible, work apps, whatever they might be, put them in that folder. Everyone will have that hidden folder, but no one can see the apps that are inside. Of course, we have to talk about the lock screen as well when we're talking about the home screen, and there are some new things to check out here. So we're going to long press like usual to go into that edit mode, and I'm going to go all the way here to the right and tap on that plus button. So unsurprisingly, there's a new featured collection for iOS 18. Pull this up. There's various colors of this wallpaper you can choose between, so purple, azure, pink, yellow. I like this one dynamic, and it actually changes throughout the day. I think this one looks wonderful. I really, really like it. You'll also notice while we're here on this edit panel, there's two options down at the bottom for your flashlight and your camera. You don't need to have those any longer. You can actually completely remove them or swap in additional controls. So again, you could put flashlight there, you could take this one out, instead of camera, put something else instead. I like running a shortcut there. That's easy to do. There's all these third-party apps that are also being added here, so you can have things like Bulletin going to sports news, card pointers, all these different ones, as well as Apple. So connectivity, you can have a cellular toggle, there's home ones, shortcuts, remote, whatever it is, but you can swap out these two little ones on the bottom. And that includes, by the way, third-party camera apps. You could put in Halide or the Moment Pro camera app or many others in that spot, which I really, really like. I think that's amazing. Looking at widgets, we do have a few different widgets here. We're going to scroll back down here through our list and all these different third-party ones. Again, if we look at Health, Health has those similar widgets that we had for the home screen, but they are now here for the lock screen. So there was State of Mind, but now there's overnight visuals, vitals, and weekly vitals. So those have been added here. If we go back again to the home app, we have our summary, climate, all of those. But again, we have those electricity usage and electricity rates widgets. Both of those have been added. And one more, go back, journal. There are so many. There are 8 new journal widgets, I believe, here to choose from. So all of these you can choose on your lock screen. But if we go down and we go to Wallet, Apple Cash is a new widget here with iOS 18 for the lock screen. Let's go back into the home screen, and we're going to swipe down from the top to get into Control Center. This is the newly redesigned Control Center. You're going to notice you have your standard first page, but there's also secondary pages. This is just continued from my first page. There's an additional dedicated one for media, another one dedicated for home controls, and a final one just for connectivity. So you can swipe between each of these Control Center pages. But what's really cool is when you pull down and just continue pulling, we're going to do that now. We're going to go down, and I can easily move between any of these that I need. So if I wanted to get into my home controls, I could just pull down, boom, 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 and jump into home controls with one simple, easy motion. Very nice. I like that a lot. So if we see this, you can tell there's some stuff that's been updated a little bit, things like these scenes, they're all different sizes. That's because this has been very much redesigned, not just to be different pages, but there's all these other features. So first, power button. If I tap on that, you can see it just did a little bit, but if you long hold, it'll ask if I actually want to power off my phone. But going back here into Control Center, we can see there's a plus button in the top left-hand corner. You can now add widgets to Control Center or controls to Control Center without having to go into settings. So I can tap on that plus button. These are all the ones that are there, or tap Add a Control here at the bottom. There's tons of controls to choose from that are Apple's, but there's also third-party ones. Again, we saw these on the lock screen, so there's the ones from like Bulletin, for card pointers, because just the updates are just now starting to roll out. Dark Noise is in there. Halide has a camera one. There's going to be plenty more for you to pick from, but there's going to be a lot of controls that you can add here to Control Center, to your lock screen, and they'll even work on the action button if you have a phone that supports the action button. Love that too. Widgets actually come in multiple sizes, so you can see here, handles again, you can pull them across to resize them, make them down, make them smaller, whatever size makes sense for you. They come like the 1, the 2 across, or the 4 square one. You can choose between any of those. Lastly, here in Control Center, many of these widgets or these little controls have updated icons. Things like the screen lock one, the screen mirroring one, these record ones, the battery one, the timer. A lot of them have been updated, a little bit more visual. They have like different colors to them instead of just being one static icon, but many have new icons with iOS 18. Okay, we're only partway through this and there's still so much more to talk about. Our sponsor for this video that just launched an impressive line of new cases, ESR. Even though these phones were just announced, ESR already has their cases up for order, taking into consideration the new sizes and yes, even the capture button. All three sizes are part of the Stash Stand line, which integrates this amazing metal kickstand directly into the camera module. From 15 to 85 degrees, you can choose the perfect viewing angle for any activity, whether video calling, streaming, gaming, or browsing. I know a good YouTube channel I could recommend. There's even enough room if you want to put on a battery pack. I've got three versions here. The Tough case, which has the most drop protection, 7 times the military standard. The Hybrid, with its clear back that allows that new goldish color to shine through, or my favorite, the Soft case, which is the most minimalistic and comfortable. They have a sleek design and a slim yet durable back you can trust without sacrificing fast MagSafe charging speeds. ESR claims in their test they can charge an iPhone 15 Pro Max in the Stash case stand around 30 minutes faster than comparable cases from other brands. If you need a screen protector, ESR has you covered there too, with a new model that's so easy to install and automatically removes the dust on application. Grab yours for your new iPhone at the links in the description. Photos is perhaps the most controversial change here with iOS 18, and Apple did tone this back quite a bit from where it was. I personally loved the carousel that was here at the top, but that is gone. So Apple has removed the library, For You, albums, and search tabs that had been persistent for so long. And instead is this unified app experience. So you have your app library here at the top, or your photo library. So when you go into the Photos app, just tap it, you can pull down and you're in your library. This is your normal library view, similar to what you've had before. Then below that, you can see all these different collections that we will get into. So if we go back to the app library, I want to touch on things here. So we do have the sort icon in this lower left-hand corner. When you tap on that, many different things to choose from between your personal library or shared library. There are filter options for favorite, edited, photos, videos, screenshots. You can toggle any of those off that you want to hide. So if I go to view options, I can do things like hide screenshots, which makes it look a lot cleaner, and you can pull those up or go down to the actual utility folder or media type folder with screenshots. But you can control all of that in this new kind of view option here inside of Photos. In the top right hand corner, there's this new profile view. I can tap that and I can see, okay, I have that many photos, that many videos. This is also where they've relocated your syncing to iCloud. So this tells you how many items are currently syncing with iCloud, up or down. And then you have your shared library shared with you, options for viewing those libraries again, more settings that you can choose, managing shared library, featured content, and holiday events. Scrolling back down, you can see we have some alerts here. So these will pop up, so faith shared items, there's also sharing suggestions, and you can dismiss any of these, but any alerts that pop through will show up here. It's kind of nice to have that one singular spot instead of going to a different tab to view them, like changes to shared albums. I had so many people missing photos of our son because they weren't going into the correct album, so they weren't seeing any photos that we were adding in there. So I do appreciate having these notifications kind of front and center when you open the app. But photos are all broken into these new kind of collections that are down below. There's a lot of different ones. Recent days, again, shows over here the recent days. Your people and pets, again, this is similar to what we had before, but it's been upgraded. You also notice many of these have little videos or animations that play. That's a great little touch. When you go into the people one, these are broken down by people and pets below, but you can also have groups. So I can have Mosby and me, or my wife Harrison and I, or Harrison and I. That you can add these groups, you can tap on the create button, choose the people, and create new groupings of them, and you'll see all the photos of just that collection. It's wonderful. Here's some more. So there's pin collection. So I have pinned things like favorites, recently saved, all that. There are the shared albums that I moved here. We have memories, our little videos that it creates. Down here is trips, similar to places that we had before, but it actually breaks them into these trips. So there was Michigan in August, there was a trip, wedding there in Columbus, and it does all this cool stuff to bring them out. Gives a little animations to go along with them, filtering by the years at the top. You go into any of them, like Walt Disney, gives you the animations there, all the stuff. These look great, and there's so much stuff you can do with it. They also have movies for these that you can play through. So really neat things. I love that they featured trips more prominently here with iOS 18. Looking at these memories, these are very cool. They have this create a memory movie suggestion right here. So photos of sunrise, quality time at home, trips with Harrison, and an epic song. You can have all these different suggestions here. You can go through and see all the ones they had. If I tap create, if I just even tap this one of Harrison with an epic song, it has this cool animation. Part of this is with Apple Intelligence, but they've also just done a lot with these memories in general. Like they can have narratives and characters, and you can kind of specify what you want it to do. But a lot of improvements with these memory videos. They went all out on these animations. Like seriously, this is very, very cool, and I love it. So we don't need to let this go all the way. We can back out of there, tap on done, keep scrolling down in this redesigned Photos app. So all the way at the bottom is something that I really like. There's this new customization. So there's even an alert about it, but you can customize and reorder the app. So these are all the different sections. You can move them around. So like for me, maybe media types, because I use screenshots so much. So I could pull that towards the top. And when you go back, now if I go scroll down from the app, right there at the top are media types, and I have screenshots, the third one over where I got screenshots. So all of your media types there. Any of these you can change. I have the pinned ones that I showed you before. Other ones to mention, you do have your regular albums, again, redesigned, and wallpaper suggestions. How cool do all of these look? I mean, awesome. Like, this is amazing. That's so cool. And you can create that right there instantly and make it into a wallpaper or your background. All of these are so cool. So some really neat changes here to the Photos app. Let's go back up to the top and look at more of these photos in terms of editing them. The first is when you open them, there's a more streamlined look than before. Now this is with Harrison, but let's go find a screenshot. This is just part of what's here in iOS 18. But look at this animation. So this is a full screen image. It should take up the full screen. But when you're in this kind of preview mode with your editing and your bar at the bottom, it zooms it out so you can still see the full image, and then tap to dismiss and you get that lovely full screen look. So that's going to apply to different photos that you have in your app. But I really like how they've done that animation. I think it's a big step up. This overall is a much sleeker look than before, and you can actually edit in dark or light mode. So the edit button is gone, and instead we have a little slider here at the bottom. So I can tap on that to move here into edit mode. Your usual stuff that you would expect, but yeah, it works in both light and dark mode. There is the cleanup tool here. This is new with iOS 18.1, so not in iOS 18. There's a lot in iOS 18.1. If you want to see more about the cleanup tool and other things, there is a video linked here, but more will be coming. But this just allows you to easily remove, different things in a photo. If you want to try to remove that apple, it's going to go ahead and try to do it. Yeah, he's got a stubby for an arm now. There's not much going on there. But if you had a person in the background, this is very helpful to be able to remove people, birds, anything that's kind of going wonky with your photo without using full-on AI to edit your image. When you do make adjustments to a photo, if we just, brilliant or something, don't judge my editing, I'm just sliding these sliders, and you try to copy these edits, you can now copy more than before. You can actually copy and paste things like crop, aspect ratio, and white balance, which is very handy. Lastly, if we're looking at a video that has different speeds on it, you can adjust those speeds from the Photos app. This is going to be great for slow-mo videos. Unfortunately, it's not in the 18.1 beta, but it is in iOS 18. Finally, there are new media types and utility types that are listed here in the app. When you're in the camera app and you're recording a video, there's a new option to pause. So I can just tap on pause here, pauses the recording, I can change something, fix something, whatever, then resume back. I can see people using this a lot for like social media, like flash changes and stuff, but that's new. If we open our tool tray here at the bottom and go down to the timer, we have 3, 5, and 10 second. Before you only had 3 and 10, so 5 is a new option for the timer. When you're recording videos or even like trying to take photos, the music will continue in the background, which even works on Bluetooth devices. You can add portrait lighting controls, and there's night mode portraits when capturing portraits in the photo mode. So if you ever trying to just leave in photos mode without having to go into portrait mode, there are portrait lighting effects that you can apply to those and to night mode portraits. If we tap and hold on the flash up here at the top, it gives me new options. So I can go on or off or auto. Otherwise, it's just on or off. So if I just tap it, before you'd have to open this toolbar at the bottom and then go to flash, and then you'd have these tools or options. So now you can do it directly from up here without having to open that additional tray. Lastly, let's go into settings. There's a new option for this controls menu. When you turn this on, and now when you're in the Photos app or the camera app and you open up a control, you can see it went right back to flash because that's what I had it on before. So if I open things like the exposure, I close this, I open it again, it's back in exposure. So again, if we turn that off, then go back to the camera, now every time I open it, it's back to here. I open aspect ratio, I close it, open again, back to the beginning. So if you want it to go back to the previous control, you can turn on that control menus toggle for the camera app. Here we are inside of the Messages app. The first thing is the ability to schedule messages to send later. So you can see I've tapped on the plus button on the left and there's a new option to send later. Let's open that. Now it is scheduling a message to be sent at 9 a.m. How did you sleep last night? Now I can schedule that message to go out at 9 in the morning. I can just tap on send and it's going to pop up here in this other kind of color to it. So it's still editable. I can tap on the edit button and I can change the time or delete it or send it just right now. So you can see it sent. I can also schedule other ones. Just checking in. That's Jude checking in, just checking in. So again, send it again. Now we have multiple messages scheduled to send later. When you're done, tap the X to remove it. Now again, let's go ahead and hold onto those. We can reply directly to them, translate all of that, or we can delete them, or we can tap on the edit button. With iOS 18, there is support for RCS. So if you are texting an Android individual that supports RCS and you're on a carrier that supports RCS, you can then send them messages via that instead. Instead of text SMS, it will say RCS instead. So basically, it's a new version of text messaging. It's different from iMessage, but it definitely will improve the experience. It's going to be more reliable. You'll be able to send larger images and GIFs. So many things. RCS has been a requested feature for so long. You can also toggle it on or off from within settings. If you are sending a message and you don't have service at all, you can now send SMS and iMessages over satellite. When you do this, there's this whole interface. It'll show up inside of the live activities thing by the dynamic island. It's very cool. So if you are hiking or anywhere and you don't have cellular service, you can actually send emojis as well as text via satellite instead. So you can still get messages out, especially important if you ever needed help, but even just for basic communication, you can still text people even when there's literally zero reception as long as you have the view of a satellite. When composing a message, there are plenty of new text effects. So if I just say, hey, and put an exclamation and then put a shaking hand there, you can see there's this option here on the right. I can tap on that. Whoa, these are all the new animation effects that I can do. So I can make it big, I can make it shake, explode, ripple, jitter. All these are options. There's also formatting options, so I can go ahead and take the hey there. You can get to it multiple ways. So there's text effects there. There's also format inside of these text effects, so I can make it bold, italics, underline, and strike through. All of those as well. Plus, all these effects work with emojis, so I can do any of these animations and do nod or shake and then send it. You can see the whole thing is going to do that. So there's the hey, which is all blocked out with the different text effects, and then the animation of the hand because I had that selected individually. So there's both formatting and text effects that also work for emoji. If you're using Tap Back, you'll notice they have new colors. They're like 3D now, and there's a bunch of different ones because you have not only your original Tap Backs, but all of your emoji. Your most recently commonly used ones will show up, but if you keep swiping, there's that little ghosty one at the end. Tap on that, and you can use any emoji or sticker. Like literally, my wife's car can be a tap back effect that I applied. That goes on there just like that. So yeah, there's tons of different tap back effects. Plus, it's easier to see what's going on. When you open the tap backs, you can see who said what. Like this right here, you can see several people said haha, someone said a heart. When you go into the haha, you can see exactly who said it. There was 5 people. Tap on the heart. I can see Brian said that one, but it's much easier to see who responded with those tap backs. Finally, links. So if I go ahead and I paste a link here inside of messages, you can see it pops up. It looks very nice. It's got kind of color match to go along with it. If I tap on that, I can convert it to a text link, but I can also hit customize. I have various views. You can pull different images from it. So I can do this one. I can choose the other one, or just send it as the small blurb or as actual text. Very cool to customize the links that you're sharing. Also, sending images inside of messages now, you can have up to 100 megabytes for a single image, so you can send them at full resolution. Huge deal here for photographers. So here we are, we've made our way to the Notes app. Let's go down here to the bottom, and I'm going to tap on the paperclip for our first feature, which is to record audio. We now can record audio directly into the Notes app. So basically, this is just kind of your voice memos, but built into the Notes app for you. If I tap this on the lower hand corner, it's literally transcribing as I go, which is very neat. And then it even gives me a little summary here too to go along with. So I can talk about the different features here, such as being able to break down notes into sections, perform calculations and PDF search and all these things. And it's going to add them here into this recording. I can turn off my live transcription, and I can go ahead and hit stop, and let's just hit done. So boom, it has added that into the app. You can see instantly we have that transcript. If I tap on play, it's going to start playing that and keep along with it. I have media controls in there. It's super handy being able to be in a meeting or in a lecture, record that, get everything broken down for you, get a transcription of it that is searchable, and then you can also get a summary of everything that was talked about. I'm a huge fan of adding these new recordings into Notes. As I mentioned, there's also the ability to collapse sections, so I can collapse any of these little ones, which I think is very handy to keep your notes clean if we close those. But it has to be certain ones. Basically, if they are created as the headings or the subheadings in the app, those ones will work. So these, all that have the little arrows, those work. AirPods Pro 2 has that little arrow up here next to it. Those are all good, and I can collapse them, but things like the Apple Watch Series 10, there's nothing there. So if that line there, if I make that into, say, a subheading or a heading, now it's got a little arrow, and I can collapse it down. I love this for cleaning up the Notes app. You can highlight text in the new Notes app, so I can just choose a highlighter there. Well, that just changed it. But choose the color to anything that you want and highlight any of the text. So go over it, tap on highlight, boom, it's done. Very easy to see, and of course you can change the background. Other changes for Notes is it's now easier to search through PDFs, and math notes are here from the calculator that we'll talk about in a minute. There's also new options here at the top inside of these folders for call recordings. We'll talk about those too. So math notes, call recordings, we'll come back to them. The Journal app. So first thing you notice when you log into the updated Journal app is we have these new stats here along the top. These are kind of called insights. So 0 entries this year, 314 words written, 4 days journaled. Not great, to be honest, but if I go in, I can see all the different insights. So any streaks that you have, it's kind of like gamified journaling. So you can see the streaks that you've done, daily streaks, weekly streaks, 0 entries this year, all these different ones. Plus there's a cool calendar view down here at the bottom. So lots of different stats to go along with your journal entries in iOS 18. In the top, you can see we have a new search button, so you can search anything in here, including various categories, photos, recorded audio, reflections, or places. Cancel that out. Tap on this ellipsis here, which is new. So we have our sort option, so I can go by moment date or entry date. And you have things like insights, notifications, health access, lock journal, and print. Print is a new option. I can print things out. I can also put them into a PDF, so you can kind of save them that way as well, and you can do whatever you want with them. But searching, exporting, printing them, all new. When you create a new journal entry and you add audio, it will be automatically transcribed just how we saw it over inside of the Notes app. Right here at the top, we have mindfulness minutes because this is actually going to now sync with the health app. You can log your mindfulness minutes, so anytime that you spend journaling will be part of your mindfulness minutes for the day. It'll also be able to log and view your state of mind. So if you add your state of mind from the health app or from your phone, it can show here in journal. And when you're journaling, you can log your state of mind as well. All new. Plus, we have new options for formatting text when you're creating those journal entries. So new text formatting options, plus new shortcut actions for creating journal entries, so you can just run a shortcut to automatically create a new one. Passwords is this new app here on the bottom. This is definitely new with iOS 18, and it builds on Apple's keychain. It is a fairly bare bones app, but it is easier to navigate than what we had before. It includes things like Wi-Fi. When you view Wi-Fi networks, you can actually generate a QR code for any of those networks for someone to scan and instantly join to that network. Passwords, passkeys, and even your sign-in with Apple can all be shared with the new Passwords app. Everything syncs over iCloud, so everything that you create here can sync to your Windows device, can sync to your Mac, your PC, your iPad, all of those. Everything is end-to-end encrypted as well, which is great. Plus, you can create and save your verification codes here in Passwords. Inside of the Home app, Apple now supports ultra-wideband locks. Now, these are coming in Matter as the form of Aliro locks, and when those are on the market, because there are none right now, you'll be able to walk up to them and then they will automatically unlock. It's basically going to detect your phone and lock it and unlock it and authenticate everything without having to do anything, even faster than using like passkeys or the home key on your Apple Watch. These are super cool. Apple's also supporting robotic vacuum cleaners with iOS 18, but again, none actually support the Home app as of yet. On top of that, Matter accessories can be paired to the Home app without needing an additional hub. So Wi-Fi ones, they can be added and controlled locally without a hub. The guest access is here for locks, garage doors, and alarm systems. You can add up to 29 people as guests, and their guest activity will show here in the app, so you can view actually who's been doing what. So if I go into security, you'd be able to see who opened what in activity for a certain period of time for those locks for your guest for up to 30 days. I also kind of mentioned it on the home screen and the lock screen, which is that there's now electricity monitoring. You can learn more about it inside of the settings, but when I tap on energy, I have to connect account. This is very limited right now. It is nothing near where I am, unfortunately, but it's able to detect your electric company. Right now it supports PG&E, so Pacific Gas and Electric Company. If you have them, you can do this and sync it in, and it'll show your rate for your electricity, so you actually know when it's cheaper to use electric than when it's not. You can also see how much you're using over time when during the day that you're using it. All really insightful information. It's just unfortunately super limited to one provider at the moment, so that's definitely a bummer. Finally, the last thing to mention here is you can choose your dedicated home hub. Before you could not do that. Now you can actually set your preferred home hub, but everything has to be updated to iOS 18 first. Inside of the Apple TV app. Now when you're watching that is something like that as an Apple TV title, we have new options for Insight. You can see that card appeared here at the bottom. I tap on Insight, I can see who is in this scene. It'll change throughout the episode dynamically. This only works for Apple TV titles, those Apple TV Plus original content. I can see Gary Oldman's in this. When I tap on him, it'll actually put that into picture-in-picture and give me more information about Gary Oldman, so what he's done. So he was, of course, all these movies that he was in. He was a producer, the TV shows, writer, guest appearances he's done. I can find out all that information anytime I can pop back here into the episode. Not only can you pull up things like the actors in it, but if there's music playing, you can hear that music too and add it directly to your Apple Music library. That is probably my favorite feature of it. You're like, oh, I love this song. This is a pretty jamming song. Easily add it to your Apple Music account with just a tap, thanks to Insight. Subtitles now are more dynamic, so you can see right now I have my phone muted because we're on video, but subtitles have automatically turned on there. These will also automatically turn on when you hit like the back button, so if you have to replay a scene, it assumes maybe you didn't hear and you need to hear it again, so it'll pull the subtitles on for you, and they'll automatically turn on if the language is not set to your device's language. So if I was watching something in a different language, it was going to put those subtitles on for me. It's going to assume they needed them. Plus, there's new enhanced dialogue options available here. Lots of changes, even more on the actual Apple TV, which you can see in the other video that I've linked here. The weather app. Apple, of course, has made some changes to this app with iOS 18. So here we are. Just scroll down. Let's go ahead and just choose a day. Today, there's the actual, and now there's a toggle for feels like. So I can choose between the two dynamically at any time. The Apple always had the feels like temperature, but it was not so easy to get to like it is now. Apple also has this explainer down here at the bottom to make it make a little bit more sense for you. Plus, if I look, there's a new option for precipitation to change it from inches to millimeters and centimeters, whichever you prefer. I'm going to go ahead and leave mine in inches. If we scroll down, you can see these little pop-ups. So exploring the wind map, Apple has done more with wind. Apple is basically kind of prioritizing these. So this has been adjusted a little bit to highlight the wind, gust, and direction. Information was here before, just redesigned the layout a little bit. Plus, if you have things like your work and home addresses saved in the Contacts app, they can be added as additional locations right here inside of Weather, just with a couple taps. Very easy to do. Inside of podcasts. So first, let's go to search. I can start typing here, and as I start typing, it'll actually give me dynamic results right below me. So maybe I want to look for HomeKit Insider. I hear that's a great podcast that everyone should definitely go check out. So we're going to go here into HomeKit Insider, and we're currently playing it. You can see it here down at the bottom. First, this chapter artwork is much bigger than it was before. It goes nearly edge to edge now, looks better. You can see as I try to scrub, it also breaks down like the chapters. You can see the individual chapter markers. You can still get to them. Well, I guess you could get to them from there before, but now you can get to them just by scrubbing through. So Shopify, Philips Hue, all these different ones easily scrub through. You can also, when sharing a podcast episode, this is very cool. So I can go ahead and hit share episode, and I can go to this button and change it from start to an actual point. So if you want to share a specific point in an episode, you can just do that. So you navigate to it in the show like, oh, this is really interesting. I want to send this with David. And you go ahead, share it to him, and change it from start to from that timestamp. And it'll just pick up right there when they tap on it and start to listen. Inside of Safari, one of the biggest changes to talk about is this new distraction feature, so I can hide distracting items. When I turn this on, I can basically tap on anything on the screen, like this little ad here, and tap hide. Boom. Just like that, it like Thanos' off the screen into dust. Tap another one up here, tap, gone. Now, don't fret though, like they seem like they're gone, and I can go ahead and continue to enjoy this article that I wrote, but at any point, if I ever refresh the page, all those things come back. So it's not permanent. It is not any permanent change. Those are just temporary until I refresh the page again, navigate to it again. But you can see those options here. So that is really cool to be able to do. There's also this reader view that gives a summarize. This is part of Apple Intelligence, but I do like it that it can give these summarize for web pages. This is super useful for summarizing articles. Here we are in the Reminders app. Apple has added sublists. If I go into today, you can see we have some different breakdowns in there. So like today, morning, afternoon, tonight. So a few different breakdowns for those. They are also in for the scheduled and other smart lists for quick reference. There's a new recently deleted option so you can bring back any list items that you deleted. And Reminders now syncs with the Calendar app. Speaking of which, here is the Calendar app. Calendar app looks pretty similar to before. Apple has changed out the month view. It's definitely a lot better than it was in the past. I prefer the month view that they have now, so it's definitely been a good redesign there. Reminders show in here, so I can actually tap on plus, and I can create an event or a reminder, so I can have these for specific days. This makes so much sense because you would create a reminder in the Reminders app for a specific date and time. Like, remind me to do this on Tuesday. Now those will show in the calendar. I can edit them or create new reminders directly here from the Calendar app. This is a big step up. It's such a simple thing, but it makes a lot of sense. This is a good thing in iOS 18. We have to talk about the Calculator app, of course. So there's a bigger update for Calculator for iPad, but there's still a great one here for iPhone. So first, the 0 has shrunk down to make room for this new Calculator button. If I tap on that, I can choose between basic, scientific, and math notes. You'll notice we now have our scientific calculator, which was supported before, but now it's supported in this portrait orientation. And of course, we have math notes. You can do things like type out equations or write them, and it'll be able to solve them instantly. And if I go into any of these and I make a modification, so I switch that to an 8, it's going to reflect in real time. You can do things like add in variables to get really fancy, and you can even graph these things. Plus, all of this, as I showed, syncs over to the Notes app. Math Notes, I think, is seriously cool on the iPad. It's useful here because you can do conversions and all this other stuff inside of the iPhone, but I think it's better over on the iPad. You have your history in there as well, but yeah, overall, big update here to the calendar app or the calculator app. You can write with your finger, there's your history view. This is very cool. The Maps app, there's new topographic maps, hiking trails, and those hiking trails have turn-by-turn navigation for them, and you can make your own trails if you prefer, and saved locations can be seen directly from search. CarPlay has several new updates to enjoy. There's spatial audio, so spatial audio is in supported vehicles. Apple's digital assistant, Siri, has a new UI for things like sports scores. You can also see it for weather when I ask about the weather here. You can see it for messages. This has all been refreshed. And that digital assistant is bilingual, so you can be speaking in English but then send a message to somebody in Spanish. If you do connect to a car that doesn't have CarPlay via Bluetooth, it'll give you a new Siri response option in settings. It can now route audio through the media source and will sound much better. And there's a new Siri icon in settings. There are new iOS 18 wallpapers for CarPlay. New color filters for accessibility. These make it easier to see for those with vision limitations. Bold text option is in accessibility. There's sound recognition that can alert you on the screen if there's something like a siren or horn going on. And there's a new setting to automatically put your phone into silent mode when you get into the car. In the Files app, I can now choose to keep files downloaded permanently. Like this episode of HomeKit Insider, when I tap and hold on it, I can hit download now and keep downloaded. So it doesn't automatically be erased from my device when it thinks I need more storage. When you connect an external drive that's supported, you can see the Lexar one right here. You have new options to choose from, so I can erase this completely. And when I erase it, I have options to format external drives, so I can automatically reformat this as Apple File System, exFAT, or FAT32. Here we are in the Wallet app. So there's a new option to tap to provision. I can actually just tap a card on the front of my phone. It'll read the NFC and be able to add it into Apple Pay for me. Of course, there's still authentication, but I don't have to scan or type any numbers. There are new passes for things like concerts. They don't look, this one is old, so it doesn't show it, but there's definitely a redesigned view for these for ones that are more events driven. They're more immersive, they can have more information, and there's like live activity support as well. If you're paying somebody with Apple Cash, you can just tap your phones together and instantly send that money. Plus, you don't actually have to exchange anything like phone numbers to do so. It just literally tap to pay with Apple Cash. And there's now rewards supported on Apple Pay. Plus, there's Pay with installments that replaces Apple Pay Later that'll be coming from third parties. There's a new gaming mode that you can enable that'll improve responsiveness of game controllers and can reduce latency on AirPods and minimize background tasks to keep up high frame rates. It's an accessibility setting, but this is very awesome. It's basically called motion cues. This is to help reduce motion sickness when you're in a car. It's on automatically, but you can also turn it on. It's these little dots, and they'll move across the screen as your car moves to help compensate for motion sickness. It's on to automatically, like by default, but you can also turn it on your own. Spatial audio is supported on AirPlay with iOS 18. There's a new Apple account iCloud Plus thing here inside of settings. It's got this little subscriber badge in the corner and all these breakdowns. You can enable premium features, see your storage, all this stuff. So basically this whole iCloud Plus breakdown for your Apple account inside of settings. Apple also made settings like smaller, like it's so much smaller than before. That's because all apps are now under apps. So you actually have to go into the separate panel to see everything else that you have downloaded on the device. So I think that's kind of weird. It can be a little bit hard to find things sometimes, so just use search if you need to. SharePlay Audio works on more devices now for more people, including things like HomePod, Apple TV, and Bluetooth speakers. Inside of the phone, when you make a phone call, there's a new option to record it. And when you're done, it'll save that transcription into the Notes app. Here you can see my call recordings. Boom, right there. This one's about a yellow jacket colony that was discovered on the side of the house, and service request is pending. I can play it back, open the preview, view the whole thing. Yeah, call recordings. It also announces this to both people on both sides, so no one's ever caught off guard that the recording is made. Anytime you have an app that has a lighter or dark mode icon and you're in dark mode, the notifications will now match in dark mode. Inside of Music, their New tab replaces the Browse tab, so content's the same, but they just renamed it New instead of Browse. Finally, one of my favorite things with iOS 18 is the flashlight. So if we go ahead and turn this on like normal, you can see that new UI. So it hides up there inside of the dynamic island, but I can, I want to leave that on. So turn on the flashlight, but keep that animation there. So you can pull your finger back and forth to adjust the brightness. You can see it reflecting on the table below me. And if I go left and right, I can change the focus of the beam to be more straightforward or more wide. So depending on what I want to do, you have more granular control over the flashlight. And of course, you can just tap at any point to turn on and off. No need for all the fancy complications. AirPods are getting a bunch of new features, at least depending on the model that you have. So AirPods Pro, you can now respond to Siri requests by nodding or shaking your head. So nodding, yeah, for yes, shaking for no, just by having these in your ear so you can answer without having to speak. You can see these new head gestures. I can turn these on. So accept and reply is up and down, and decline or dismiss is side to side. I can revert those if I would like, and I can just test them out here in the Settings app. There's personalized spatial audio API that's available for gaming. In-game audio has been upgraded to 16-bit, 48 kilohertz. There's voice isolation to help improve call quality for your voice, definitely improved. There's reduced latency when in that gaming mode, and adaptive audio has a slider for granular control. Here's that slider, so I have it by default, or you can do less noise or more noise getting in. It's not just that one-size-fits-all solution. That's it. I feel like I'm a little hoarse at this point, but I appreciate everybody who stayed through to the end. If there are any other changes that I didn't mention, be sure you call those out down below in the comments. Of course, we're going to get even more with iOS 18.1, so if you don't want to miss that, be sure you subscribe and turn those notifications on. Otherwise, stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video.